What is that? A work friend. It's a friend from work. So what is this, Thor? He's a friend from work. Is that what this is? Oh no, I don't have work friends. I've never had work friends. I don't. I think the concept is great. I absolutely don't mind friends, but historically, I've never understood why people have work friends or how. But I'll tell you this. So the reason I don't have work friends. Let's see. We go through this. Number one, I don't want to mix work and friends because one of my challenges is taking things very personally. And so I have found it's difficult separating work from engaging with a friend when work is rough. Because at any point, if I'm out having a good time with friends, that's what I want it to be. I want it to be a good time. I want it to be happy. I want it to be playful all the time. I'm not good at switching from a moment where hee ha ha, lots of laughter and fun, and something stressful happens at the job or the environment changes or someone has a trigger for anxiety. And it's part of the human experience to be anxious, or they might be snappy or crude, however their coping mechanism is for that. Separating instantaneously from friends having a good time, cutting a fool, to working is a challenge for me. And it's not something I want to learn. Fair enough. It just not. I want my friends are for me to enjoy. It's meant to be, or I want it to be. It's meant to be, and I want it to be the exact opposite of work. I want to get rid of all that stress. I want to have a conversation. I want to connect, and I don't want it to be abruptly cut short because work kicks in. Right? So that I'll take personally. As I've learned, we're on the job, okay, and the job has now become stressful or active, or customers, wherever it is that you work, because that is a difficulty, an issue for me. I don't have work friends. Okay, that's number one. Fair enough. Some people, or the average person, I think is okay with that. I'm not. Number two, why I don't have work friends. I don't think, well, it's not that I don't think. I know I'm not a mean person. I'm not. I'm very kind, compassionate, authentic, genuine. I'm a person. I have found when you meet people without knowing that much about you, the assumptions are formed, or judgments are formed, or the human experience is to, in some cases, believe we know more about a stranger than we actually do. I don't think everyone is that intuitive. There are some with the gift of discernment, but most people just can be very judgmental. So I think when I have had a rough moment or a stressful moment, my perspective is other people, or quote unquote, I say the normal person, they tend to still be able to cut fool or joke and have fun with each other. With me, it has tended to be Jared is, for lack of a better word, mean, or X, Y, and Z, or some things I've heard on the job. I wash my hands of Jared, or etc. So it always feels like I'm not in that clique of general population where I can be human yet still be a friend. And a work friend is going to make that really difficult. So I'm looking for in friendships where I can just be Jared. And neither of us happens to be perfect. We're flawed, but we're still having a good time. And work sometimes, especially when I come to work and then go home, I'm not good at faking either laughter or smiling. I'm not being mean. I'm just focused on the job to perform that action and then go home or go on to whatever it is I have going outside the workplace. And there is a lot of general population that doesn't yet understand that dynamic. So it's as if you're not coming to work to make work friends. So you ever notice the people who come in just to work, they focus on that, feel kind of odd. I've worked with a coworker like this, and she, coming to know more about her, she herself is very transactional, but especially on the job, she didn't really have friends. She would have very quick moments where she might smile or laugh, and the rest of it, I think, part and due to just her life. It was almost as if she just would ignore you, and anything not related to work, she just didn't filter. For me, I'm not always good with social cues. So in terms of if a coworker is mad because they think I'm not helping them, one, I'm an only child. So there's that. I have my own stressors and coping mechanisms before I came to this place that may or may not fit in this environment. There's that. So obviously, if you're bleeding on the floor, I'm going to help you. But you could be stressed out. I had this happen recently, stressed out or busy. And I'm not intending to leave you in that place. It just doesn't register for me. It might register you're on XYZ role. That's a role I could even train to do in until a year of being in this department. I'm in the hospital. Or I might just be focused on my little area, my little space. And again, you just don't register. Nothing personal. People will take that personally. So I don't have what you might call work friends. So, here's a good one. We'll put this as number 3. And I just don't have people I can have legit conversation with. It just seems like every environment I've worked in, there's very few people who have spoken the same language I do. It doesn't matter whether you have a friend or just a good conversation. It ought to be with someone that speaks the same language I do. So I quilt a lot. And I'm into a lot of creative things, drawing. I watch tennis. I'm a gamer. The majority of people I find just aren't into those conversations. If you want to gossip, oh yeah, you'll find work friends. If I wanted to cut up and not do work, but then when the supervisor appears, everyone has this knack of just looking like they're doing work, and I would get the heat for supposedly being lazy. That conditioned me to just not have work friends. That's my coping mechanism. I come here, work, go home. Friends outside of work. That way I don't have to worry about whoever's about to show up around the corner. You see something? Well, maybe you shouldn't have been out in this part of town. Well, I'm off. Just, this is what it is. So, for example, I had an instance where I was telling a coworker, "Do you know what book I'm reading?" And at that moment, I was listening to the audiobook for The Picture of Dorian Gray. Very, very, very classical novel. And my coworker tells me that she hadn't read the book. And I could just tell from her demeanor and the change that she just... You can tell when people are disinterested. If you're disinterested, I'm going to stop talking. Because I want to talk to people who are genuinely interested in what it is I have to say. And they're also invested in the same thing. It can be a two-way conversation. I've never had that happen on any job. It's good as long as I'm listening, but when I start speaking, 90 to 95% of people just don't pay attention. So I learned, no work friends. And these days, I don't really have friends outside of work either. I don't think I mesh well with anyone in this around my home where I grew up. But maybe this is a conversation for another day. But so, do you have work friends? Oh, you do? Okay. And how is that? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that. So, I mean, if anyone's listening who has work friends, I'd tell them, congratulations is in order. Do you enjoy it? I'd ask them, how is that dynamic? Is it work friends, or is it just... Are people you're just trying to be nice to in case you need something from the work environment? So you're putting on a facade of being a certain way. That's got me in trouble too. Not knowing or caring to be fake or put in that kind of effort. I'm just Jared all the time. You'd be surprised how many people that turns off if you're just you all the time. Now, you will work on yourself. I work on myself. But if you're just you all the time, be surprised how many people don't want to do with you. It's fake. It's more attractive, I guess. But also, if you're you all the time, and it's not something that is to your favor, outside mingling about the world, that doesn't mean there's self-improvement that needs to happen. So in my mind, doing that just so you can have work friends just halts your success. It halts where you're going, because the improvements that you need to make, you're not making them because you're too busy being fake so you can have work friends. And half the people, when I think about work friends, I don't find they're going where I'm going. So I used to work at a retail store, and a lot of my coworkers would either be on their phones all the time, or they're leaving to go, home or take a nap and other things like that. But where I'm going, and the people that I've now found currently to hang around, sometimes might only get 4 hours of sleep. They make money being on their phones. They know how to get their money to work as hard for them as they do to get it. So I've always naturally looked for people who are going to help me get there, or people who can keep me company, and I likewise can keep them company while we are heading to that same spot of success. And most people are just, I can find people who are working 2 or 3 jobs. And I don't spend a lot of time with folks like that because I don't want that type of lifestyle. There's people who work, make that kind of money and more, and don't work 5 jobs. A lot of my business owners. And I've always wanted to own my own business, quote unquote. So I'm looking for people like that. I haven't worked in places where there's that same mindset. So in order for me to also have a work friend or a friend, I investigate the mindset. It's operating like that. Yeah.